Hello, I'm Vinicius Quintao, and I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist at the Universidade de São Paulo in Brazil, a former TA2 and a senior TA candidate. In this lecture, I will discuss about the communication with editors. I have no financial conflict of interest, and I'm an associate editor of the Brazilian Journal of Anesthesiology. The agenda for this lecture will be discuss the communication with editors from the author's point of view regarding research and preparation, review and decision, and revision. The communication with editors could be very handling. This communication process could also be determinant for the paper's acceptance. And understanding who editors are and what they are trying to achieve during their decisions can help you to convey your message and have a successful publication of your paper. There are two types of editors. The professional editor, he or she have only a solo job at the journal, and they consider manuscripts for a wide range of research. So your cover letter for this kind of editor should be very straightforward. But the majority of editors are academic editors. They also hold a faculty position, and they consider manuscripts for a less wide range of research. During the preparation, you should choose the proper journal to try to publish your paper. So which journal should I publish in? It's very important to know the editorial line of the journal. So you can know about the editorial line, read the aim and the scope of the journal that are in the journal website. This is an example from the pediatric anesthesia. As you can see, the aims and the scope of the journal. It's very important during this process of choosing the proper journal for you to publish your paper, because you cannot lose time, your time during this process, and not lose time of the editor. So it's also very important to read the journal's instructions to authors and ensure that your paper is correct regarding rules and guidelines for submission for this specific journal. And it's one of the main reasons for the paper's return to correction, not following the instructions to the authors. Many journals request one or more of these items at the initial submission process. So you have to declare a conflict of interest. So there is a conflict of interest statement. You have to declare the funding source, and there are author agreements or author declarations. Conflict of interest statements are very important, and the conflict of interest set the conditions in which professional judgment concerning a primary interest may be influenced by a secondary interest, such as the financial gain. And the declaration of interest or the disclosure statement is a notification from the author that there is no financial or personal interest or belief that could affect the results, the objectivity of the manuscript. And if you have any conflict of interest to declare, to disclose, you state the source and the nature of this potential conflict. There is a very interesting example for the ICMJE, the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. It's free for download for the ICMJE website, and it's a fillable document. You can use this document to disclose that you have no conflict of interest. If you have any, you can use also this example to declare your potential conflict of interest. The funding sources is also very important, and you have to declare any funding or research grants receive in this course of the study. And you also have to put it in the manuscript. We can see here some examples from the FAPESP from the São Paulo state, the CNPq from the Brazil's central government, and the NIH. And the auto agreement declaration, which is a statement to certify that all the authors, the principal author and the co-authors, have seen and approved the final version of the manuscript. And you have to warrant that the article is the author's original work, and you have not received prior publication, and also is not under consideration for publication in another journal. So the main tool to communicate with the editors is the cover letter. So how to write a cover letter? The cover letter is an opportunity to convey important pieces of information about your manuscript to the editors. And a cover letter is a simple, brief letter designed to introduce your manuscript to an editor. So there are very tips to write a very straightforward cover letter. So I'll give you some tips here. And that you have to give a brief, largely not technical summary of the method, explain how it will have an impact and why the methods and applications will be interesting to the readers of your paper. Put your work in context and explain the novelty and specific advances of your work. Tell about any related work from you or from your group, which are under consideration to publication in another journal or already in press in another journal, and mention if you have previously discussed your work with another editor, because editors know each other. You may provide a list of potential or not reviewers with email addresses and a brief description of their expertise, which is, of course, related to your work. Do not simply reiterate that you have submitted a paper. You have to be more personal with the editor. Do not summarize your results, because the editor will read your paper, and the long cover letters are usually redundant. A good cover letter is just one page. Do not use highly technical jargons or acronyms, and do not assume your scientific reputations or endorsements from others in your field. And do not address your cover letter to "Dear Sir," use "Dear Editor," because we have a lot of great females editors in TIFF. This is a great example from the American Journal of Experts. It's free at the American Journal's Experts website, and you can use this example to write your cover letter. During the submission, it's very important to follow the reporting guidelines. Reporting guidelines is a simple and structured tools for researchers to use while writing manuscripts. This kind of document provides the minimal information required in a manuscript to ensure the understanding of your results by the readers, replication for another research, using a clinical practice, and of course, use your data in a systematic review. Reporting guidelines are usually a checklist, and you can use the checklist pointing out which part of your manuscript you report the item that is stated in this checklist. It's very important to the editor to check that you report all the important parts of a specific work in your manuscript. You can find all the reporting guidelines in the Equator Network platform. For example, the Consort for randomized trials, the STRUB for observational studies, and so on. During the review, the editorial process, you're gonna be submitted to a review and the decision from the editor-in-chief or the associate editor. So we can expect a decision from the editor. General publication process is of course different between journals, and most journals inform the actual editorial and the production time at the Journal Insights page. So you can go to the journal website and you can find the process of your manuscript submission. Reviews are confidential. The peer review is confidential, and reviewers must not share the review or information about the review or about your manuscript without the agreement of the editors and the authors involved. The revision is a very important part, of course, and after the editors or peer review, you may ask to revise your manuscript, and of course, you can ask for an extension of the due date to reply the editor with your revision. After the editor's decision, you can go to 4 different ways. You can revise your submission and explain why you did not revise certain reviews comments because you don't agree with that, but you have to put that in context and use strong justifications to know to the editor that you are right. The rebuttal letter or the response letter addressing the reviewer's comments, and if the editor rejects your paper at the first time or during the editorial process, you can also write an appeal letter, or you can withdraw your manuscript and try to submit to another journal. So here, you're going to discuss now the rebuttal letter, which is the response letter. It's also a very critical part during the editorial process, because after the first, second, or third review, and you have to revise your paper, your manuscript, you have to write a response letter, a rebuttal letter. So how to write a rebuttal letter? So first, you have to acknowledge the reviewers for their time over the paper. Acknowledge that a misunderstanding may be due to a poor presentation of your part. Copy the full text of each review's comment or questions and reply on every concern raised. It's very important. Distinguish review's comment from your reply. Your reply must be more straightforward, and in the writing process, you can distinguish. First, you copy and paste the review comment, and after you can go with your response of your reply. Include the relevant citations completely or with DOIs. Include pertinent new data as figures, tables, or attachments. Be succinct and avoid epic discourses. Be equally respectful for all the reviews and, of course, for the editor. Do not accuse reviewers of bias or incompetency, and do not pledge that for personal or monetary reasons, critically important steps were not performed. You don't have to pledge for that. And do not ignore specific requests by reviews without a comment. And as I said, if your paper was rejected by the editor at the first time or during the editorial process, you can write an appeal letter. Appeal letter is only read by the editor. You can consider whether if you have a good case for appealing, that's not worth investing time in the process. Clearly explain the reasons why you disagree with the decision. Explain how you plan to rectify any major shortcomings pointed by editors or pointed by the reviewers. provide evidence for any accusations of review bias, and do not do anything in the heat of the moment. It's great to it's good to wait for a time, read again the decision, and after the heat of the moment, you can write your appeal letter. Do not simply reaffirm the importance of the work. Do not try to bribe the editor with promise of high citations. Do not assume the paper must be interesting just because similar papers have been published before, especially in that specific journal. And do not expect to sway by your scientific reputation. And of course, do not rely on celebrity endorsements. And the last tip for appeal letters: do not appeal every decision, because this kind of decision, the rejection by the editor, it's the editorial process. If you are a researcher and if you write your manuscripts, you have to deal with some rejections. Thank you.